I'm looking at a table that's been compiled by the Social Security Administration. It's the actuarial life table, and it follows hypothetically 100,000 people of each gender, and tracks them starting at age 0 and how many people live to be a certain number of age, right? So you start with 100,000, and by the first year, 99,370 men are still with us, and by age 2, 99,327 are still with us. It drops off sharply the first few years because of SIDS and birth defects and stuff like that. It slows down by the time you get to your early teens, and then it speeds up again for other reasons. And especially it starts to speed up by your 40s. But one thing that amazes me is that if you look at, let's say when you're 20 years old, the rate of death for men is 0.001146. I remember years ago when I looked at this, it was about 1 in 500. Now it's closer to 1 in a 1,000. And for women, it's 0.000425, less than 1 in 2,000. And what this kind of implies in my head is that if you can keep your body as healthy as a 20-year-old throughout your life, you could potentially live to be 1 or 2,000 years old. And it might not be so hard as you would think, because right now, even though I'm 33 years old, right, my risk of death is 0.002014 this year, right, 1 in 500, right. Probably higher now because we're all locked in and there's a lot of people who are drinking and doing drugs. Not me, but if you could keep your body this young, right, you could reduce for me, I could reduce my risk of death by about half. I don't think it's so hard though, because I actually attract a lot of girls in this kind of age range, which is kind of annoying. I'm an adjunct professor at a technical university. I get a lot of students who are attracted to me. Even just out on the street, thank God with the quarantine, right? Otherwise, when I go to the library, when I go to a restaurant, I can't tell you how many times I attract girls from that age range, which I don't mind, but I'd rather be attracting some girls who have some wisdom, right? Okay, that might be an extreme case, but even if you could keep your body as healthy as a 59-year-old, right, your risk of death at 59 is about 1 in 100, right, which means that if you could keep your body as young as a 59-year-old, you potentially would have 100 more years to go, and you could live to be 159. But it gets even more incredible, because if you look up the leading causes of death, let's do by age group, right? By age. If you look at the leading causes of death, now let's suppose you do keep your body as young as a 20-year-old, and your risk of death is 1 in 1,000, right? But if you look at the leading causes of death for a 20-year-old, unintentional injury, which I would imagine includes a lot of car accidents, suicide, and homicide. A lot of that comes with wisdom, right? A lot of that comes with your views on life. You know, your who you hang around with, right? I would imagine homicide. Most of it is done by people you know, right? A lot of it is, especially the injuries, or a lot of it is based on wisdom, right? Even if you keep your body as a 20-year-old, by the time you have 50 years of experience on Earth, a lot of this will not apply anymore, right? When you're 50 years old, if you can keep your body as young as a 20-year-old, right? The what is that? Malignant neoplasm, some kind of cancer. I'm not very versed medically. Heart disease, right? This is the kind of stuff you avoid if you keep your body as young as a 20-year-old, right? Liver disease, right? This is a lot of that is probably from drinking, right? I'm surprised that, well, I guess when you're 20, a lot of that doesn't show up yet, right? Let's look at the other diseases, certain kinds of cancer, heart disease, where am I? Okay, 20, when you're 20 years old, congenital anomalies, right? That's probably something you're born with, right? So we won't talk about that because you don't have control over that. Chronic low respiratory disease. A lot of that probably comes from smoking, right? Unfortunately, even at 20, a lot of people have diabetes nowadays, right? But that's a lifestyle choice, right? That you that I'm trying to talk about, that you can keep at bay by keeping your body young, right? Influenza and pneumonia, a lot of that is probably from chronically poisoning your immune system, right? I was looking at right now. I'm recording this in August of 2020. At the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis, a lot of people were surprised that in Africa, even though they're very densely populated, they have very low number of cases. I wish people would dig more into that, right? I bet a lot of it is because in Africa, people cannot afford to poison their immune systems and make themselves a vector for all sorts of disease. Right? We talk about social distancing. I wish we would talk more about immune system distancing, right? Anyways, a lot of people like to talk about the 80 or 90-year-old who smokes regularly, who smokes regularly at 80 or 90 years old and then still recovers from COVID-19. I want to point out that the reason we even talk about these people is because how visible they are, right? A person who smokes and dies at 60 years old, you're not going to see how disgusting they look when they're 80 years old, right? You see the 80-year-old who actually smokes. And I got to point out, if you're seeing them at the library or at the grocery store, you're seeing an 80-year-old who smokes who's still healthy enough to go out, right? You don't see the 80-year-olds who are homebound and who are worried about getting COVID-19 here in 2020 because you don't see them. I got to point that out, right? Anyway, so this is why I believe it is very possible to live to be 100 and even beyond, right? Thanks for watching.